Hariom everyone. So we are starting this next class on Nyaya. We'll start first with the chanting. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आन शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। So we are starting this next class on Nyaya, where we will enter the zone about debating fallacies. It's a very detailed chapter, a lot of very subtle differences between all of the different fallacies. So what we are going into is the part where we'll see jati as one of the logical fallacies. So jati is a fallacy that is, you may say, the third in the line of what we call logical fallacies. So we saw earlier two kinds of logical fallacies in some universe, some time long back into the past. I don't know if you would even remember that, but that was in the first chapter. Let me try and search it for you. We can just maybe bring it on screen. Let me see. That will go back to the first chapter, and I think it is around the 8th Jati, I think that comes in 17 or 18. So when we are looking at these, the first of the logical fallacies that we saw earlier was what we call Hetu Abhas. Together you pronounce it as Hetvabhas. So Hetuabhas is the first logical fallacy. There were 5 kinds of Hetvabhas. In simple terms, Hetvabhas is Hetu plus Abhas. Hetu is a cause that you give to establish any kind of logic or any kind of argument. So that Hetu is sometimes not fully correct. So Hetvabhas means it looks like a Hetu, Abhas. It feels like a Hetu, but it is not actually the correct Hetu, not actually the correct, what we call the correct form of debate, right? So Hetu is a cause that you give. So I'll just, I think I'll go back to one more part there. So Hetu is, I'll just go back to the Nyaya Prakriya then first, before I can explain what Hetu is, right? Because we are going back into this part. So Hetu, first of all, whenever we establish an argument. So in Nyaya, what we call Pancha Avayava, say it together. So Pancha Avayava represents the five-fold steps by which we use to establish any kind of argument, something to be proved. So first of all, what is there? First, we have to give what we call the proposition. So that is called pratigya. Right, you can write this down if you've forgotten it or you haven't the notes from earlier. I think I mentioned this earlier also in the recent past. So pratigya is you have something to prove. So any theorem, right? Theorem. The square has 4 equal sides. That is a pratigya or any kind of. So in Nyaya, what is the favorite example everywhere it is given? It is the example of the smoke on the hill. So Parvata Vanniman. So there is fire on the mountain. Huh? Fire on the mountain, run, run, run. Used to sing in the school. So there is a fire on the mountain, pratigya. Then you give what we call a cause, hetu. So uh, with Parvat Vanniman, the cause is, the hetu is tatra dhumaha asti. So there I can see smoke. That is, there I can see a smoke, so there fire must be there. So the hetu is because I see smoke, not fire. So that is the hetu. And then the third step is pratigya hetu drishtant. So drishtant is an example in some uh, nearby experience or real experience of yours, that is the common experience for everyone, right? So something that you can give, that this is actually seen by you. From that I'm trying to prove something that is not being seen by you. That might relate, whatever is being proved, it might relate to what is totally unseen by human mind or human people, that matters relating to swarga or atma or whatever. But it might also relate to something that is far away, like in the case of this mountain I am going to. So when I say that, then I give an example of the kitchen. So in the kitchen, what do I see? Yatra yatra dhuma, tatra tatra vanni. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Right? So there might be fire without smoke when the fire is burning, but initially when the fire is lighted, there will always be smoke, and some of it will accompany that. So if you see the smoke, that means fire is there. Not a 100% correct example, because in there are certain chemicals which can come together and produce smoke, and their fire will not be there, but we say heat is there. But that is besides the point. Let us come back to the real thing. So that is the drishtan. Then upnaya is the comparison. So comparison is saying what I said, in the kitchen there is a fire and smoke. So that interrelationship between the drishtant and the pratigya. So yatra yatra dhuma tatra tatra vanni. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. That is the drishta. That is the upanaya. That is the comparison. So finally, what is then nigaman? Nigaman is the conclusion. Conclusion is in fact the same as the pratigya only, but it is saying thus prove. So whenever you are giving a theorem, no, at the end you say thus prove square has four equal sides. You use the process, whatever the geometrical process, using the different theorems of geometry. So when that also is a very complicated thing about it, whether a square is actually four equal sides in certain geometry, like in Minkowski geometry, it's not there. So maybe we will not go there. What we are sticking to is the subject, that when we are trying proving that theory, then it goes through these five stages. So what are they again? Pratigya, hetu, drishtant, upnay, and nigman, right? So in this process, because we have seen this, we are looking at this logical fallacies. So hetu represents the logical fallacy, whereby hetu is not the logical fallacy, in fact, but the hetvabhas. So hetu represents the reasoning given to establish something. Hetvabhas represents something that appears like a reason and is not actually the reason. So there are again five types of hetvabhas, right? So I'll just type, this part is in the first chapter, second part. I had not marked it out actually. So the fourth chapters, the first chapter, second part starts with the description of the different kinds of ways we debate, right? So here the debates are given. First is vad. So vad is simply a discussion between two people. I'm discussing something, any discussion, politics, anything. It can be music, sports, everything. So whenever you are discussing something amiably, we are enjoying the discussion, vad. Then vad and vivad. Vivad is something that you are disputing, right? So you can use both terms together, but vivad basically represents an opposing argument or a different point of view. So in vivad, there is what we call debate, right? That is the debate. Then another further step when we go, then we have after vad and vivad, we have the next step is vad, vivad, then jalp and vitanda. So jalp represents you are arguing something and you are not giving up your position. You are so adamant. So even if you know you are wrong, that also. Hmm. So they are using different kinds of tricks to prove the opponent wrong. In that Jalpa, there are certain what we call tricks, which we use logical fallacies. So these logical fallacies are not always we are saying it is used by the person who is wrong. It can also be used, as we saw in the last sutra also, that a jalpa can be used to protect the truth. Just like you use a bard, we say, we use a fence for fence of thorns to protect any delicate plant, right? That way the truth is delicate. It is not grasped by everyone. So sometimes, when someone is asking you about certain things, like Anita would know in Brihat, there's a lot of discussions about caste and jati, but how do you explain to everyone all the points unless they have not done that study? You try explaining, they will keep arguing the same point, right? So what is happening there? I cannot explain each and every part of the process by which this Varna and Jati have entered our system, how they are the best and most adequate systems for smooth functioning of society, how they have been modified and altered by modern evil people or selfish people to suit their ends. So that does not mean we discard the whole of Varna Jati into the dustbin. That means we correct our attitude towards it. Maybe keep it aside if you are not fit enough to implement it, but we should use it in the best way possible, but not discard it. So you can use arguments to you know put away the prativadi, the opponent. So that is one purpose of Vaad. So in this, when we'll be discussing Jati, very important thing we'll always have to remember: whatever the first person is saying is not always right. Right. So in debating, I'm taking the time to establish the process because then only we'll enter there. Right. And second thing we have to remember is, again, when we are entering into this study of all of these logical fallacies, we have to remember one particular point, that there is a very slight difference between all of them. So it is not possible to explain all of that in modern English. Sanskrit, some terms are not translatable. That is why I will not be able to find too many modern examples, but I'll try. So we'll have to stick with the original Shastric examples, whatever are given in the Shastra. So we'll try to understand using them because there is a very small, subtle difference. So coming back to Vad, Vivad, and so we have Jalpa, and there is a further category of all of these, which we call Vitanda. So in Vitanda, it does not involve proving yourself right or wrong. It involves discrediting the opponent. सामने वाला गलत है, उसका character गलत है, his nature is wrong, his character is wrong. Instead of discrediting, instead of sticking to the topic, you shift the topic to the person. So that is also another kind of more logical fallacy used in modern Latin terms. Also it is used there. So that vitanda is also a process used by some people. So when we are talking about Vad, Vivad, Jalpa and Vitanda, all of these are different kinds of ways in which an argument may progress from the what we call the sabhya vad to the asabhya vitanda. So vitanda is said to be for very uncivilized people, questioning someone's credibility. So it is not encouraged. But up to what we call jalpa, it is allowed. It is allowed for establishing the truth. So whenever you are, as a spiritual debater, going into any kind of argument, the jalpa is the last limit to which you are allowed to go. You are not allowed to go into vitanda. So some people get into abuse. That is totally bad. So coming now to Hetvabhas. Hetubhas we saw earlier. Aneikantik Savyavichar, that is the definition of Hetvabhas. One cause can lead to multiple conclusions. That is basically the system of Hetvabhas. So we have done this earlier. I will not repeat this. Otherwise, this itself will take 5 or 6 classes. But the basic category, basic argument you've understood using something. some argument that can be proved, that can be used to prove multiple things, right? So that argument will not be sufficient for the argument you are using. Like if you are saying, uh, I need, these are 7 ingredients by which the tastiest curry can be made, right? So now I am going to go and cook it. So I say using this, I will make the tastiest curry person. So is it sufficient? No. Now there are so many factors which will decide on whether I can make the tastiest curry. So, uh, so Yogesh will make the tastiest curry is not a sufficient hetu, because Yogesh man might not do the steps in the proper manner. He might not be the best cook, and so on. So there are so many ways this conclusion might reach, so many other arguments which will come in between. So this Hetavas will and take us to that category. And then the second category was chalam. Chal is basically tricking someone. So tricking someone to use some false logic, so some kind of what we call vak chalam. So vak chalam is basically using some kind of verbal sleight of hand. So like someone says uh, that uses a word that has two meanings. So you use one meaning of that word, and the say that other person is not using that other meaning. So their examples are there. Here you can see this speaker says this boy is a narakambal or said navakambal. So his processes a new blanket. But nava also means 9. So he says, you said he had 9 blankets. I want one of those. Why is he keeping 9 blankets? So you are diverting it into a very silly argument. Of course, lot of the arguments you will see, they will seem silly to you, but in terms of spiritual debate, sometimes they are used to establish very serious points, right? So the example here might seem very simple, but it is not. So this is the part we have covered, chalam, and then there are two other kinds of what we call logical fallacies. These were mentioned in this chapter 1 to 28. You can see sadharmya, sadharmya, vedharmya, vedharmyayam, pratyavasthana jati. So jati here is futility, or what I will say, it's a logical fallacy involving categorization. I will explain more. So here I'm just outlining it for you. So this jati consists in offering objections founded on mere similarity or dissimilarity, right? So these examples we'll see. So jati has 24 kinds of logical fallacies. There are 24 different kinds of logical fallacies. And then Nigraha Sthanam has, I think, 22 logical fallacies. So Nigraha Sthan is, I have a place where I conclude something. The argument where I conclude something, right? That is the Nigraha Sthanam. What is my conclusion? So that conclusion might not be the right one, right? The Nigrasthan is not, it might not be the perfect Nigrasthan. So there are a lot of logical fallacies come, like circular fallacy, then regress ad infinitum. These are modern terms known in Latin debating also. So all these come under Nigrasthan. 22 of these. These we'll see in the 5th chapter part. So 5th chapter part 1 is Jati. 5th chapter part 2 is Nigrasthan. So this we have discussed. We have seen what are the different kinds of logical fallacies. So now we go on to the 5th chapter and we have a look at what are the arguments given. I'll just read the first sutra. It's a long one, and because it contains all the different jatis. So when we are going into jati, just a few more points here. We have seen Vad, Vivad, Jalp, Vitanda. So this text that we are looking at, it contained in the 4th chapter, part 2, 50 sutras. But in most other texts, there is a small sutra, which is not a necessary addition. But what does it say? Tabhyam Vigraya Kathanam. 4 to 51. 4 to 51 is Tabhyam Vikreya Kathanam. This is there in this book also. Abhyam Vikreya Kathanam. In my book, it is there, the one I have with me. So it is basically saying that this knowledge about Jati, now we shall expound. Jati was mentioned in the 50th Sutra. So now we will expound. And it is only to be used to protect the truth and not to win over others. दूसरों पे जीतने के लिए नहीं है. Right? So now, about these two logical fallacies, Jati and Nigrasthanam. So first one is Jati. Jati is showing that there is one argument given by a person. Then the Jativadi, the one who is committing this logical fallacy, he is called a Jativadi. So what he will say is that opposite also can be proved from the argument that you will be giving. So a conclusion will not be reached. जातिवादी सिद्ध नहीं कर देगा उल्टा कुछ. He will not prove something opposite, but he will prove your argument is not sufficient. That is his purpose. उसने he will put a spanner in the wheel. जिसको कहते हैं ना रास्ते में गाड़ी को अटका दे. He will make your vehicle get stuck. So that is his purpose. So that is a flawed way of conducting an argument. That is what we say about Jati. So because an argument must reach a logical conclusion, you are not supposed to just prove. Yes, Anita, I want to say something.
Then isn't this just Vitanda?
No, Vitanda is you are discrediting the other person. Right? There is a very slight and there is a very, but nice question, but there is a very slight difference between Vitanda and Jati. So in Vitanda, what you are doing is you are discrediting the other person. You are saying you are a person of questionable moral character, or you are a person who has not even studied the Shastras, or you are a person who does not know this fact. Some fact he will enumerate and that he will say. No, so someone can say you are working in a job, you are a failure at that job. That does not mean that person is not fit to argue or debate. And so that is Vitanda. But in Jati, what is happening? Someone is giving an argument, then you are using that very same argument to prove another conclusion from that, a second conclusion. So you are saying with your argument, you are giving this one conclusion. I can also prove something different from this argument. That means your argument is not sufficient. So we say this is a Jati Prayog. This is a way of saying disproving the other one wrong without proving anything of your own yourself. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So in Jati, this the opponent's proof is just being discredited by using the same argument. He is not running away from the argument. He is giving an argument, but his argument is not proving anything of his own. That is the Jati Prayog, right? So when we look at this one, opposite can also be proved using Jati. That is called Jati Prayog. And the Nigrasthan, of course, we'll see in the next chapter. It shows basically that argument itself is flawed. The basis for your argument is wrong. Nigrasthan, the basis for your argument itself is wrong. So in this part, we will cover Jati. So Jati is, let us look at Jati. So Jati is a category, right? A category. So it is putting a collection of objects into a common classification. Like cow, man, deer, wolf, all are under what Jati? Mammals, right? All are mammals only. But we can restrict the Jati to include lesser and lesser members. Like humans is a smaller subgroup of mammals and a smaller Jati. But will include all different kinds of humans. So this classification of Jati can lead us to discover many common characteristics. So like female mammals will give birth to young ones through the womb. So that is the one characteristic of mammals. And then they feed the young one with milk and so on. So, but this does not mean that we can attribute all characteristics are equal. That is Jati Prayog. So does not mean we can say that these are both mammals. So all qualities will be equal. So we cannot say that like a man and a horse are mammals. So a horse has a hoof. So a man must also have a hoof. That is Jati Prayog. right? That is jati. So someone will be proving something using the common characteristics of man and horse. The Jativadi will come and say your argument is wrong because according to your comparison, the man must also have a hoof. So this logical fallacy is coming under jati, and this can be negated to show members who have different characteristics, even though of the same jati. So actually, what should be the process of logic? You show to any common properties of two objects, and through that you extend that to say that this property extends to all other members of the species. So I can use it to extend it to a third or fourth person. So you are playing through common characteristics. You are not playing through the uncommon or different characteristics. So that is the proper way of argument. Jati just tries to mislead you away from this. So now this logic that we are using for jati, it is easier with worldly objects, the ones I'm explaining like mammals and all that. But it becomes more tougher to implement with something that is a very subtle entity like Atma, Akashah, Shabdah. So that is where it will be used more clearly so that we can understand the differences between different kind of jatis. So, okay. So now we have seen earlier that first of all, you will have to note this down if you haven't written it. All the worldly objects or words, word denotes an object. Is that clear? हर शब्द एक वस्तु को denote करता है, right? So now the word is every word is denoting an object. That means the word if it denotes an object, then it can come only five categories. There are only five categories under which an object can come or an object can be classified. So what are those five categories? The five categories are guna, kriya, sambandh, jati, and rudi. So guna, kriya, sambandh, jati, and rudi. These are the five ways you can categorize an object or put it into a group. So so any object will have different gunas, different properties. So the different properties you can classify. This ball is red, this ball is green. So these are two different balls. So in this way you can separate. Kriya, with different kinds of activity or motion that is there. So a human can move this much, a snail can move lesser, a stone cannot move at all, and so on. So with depending on kriya, you can categorize the objects, right? Then sambandha, what is the relationship between them, right? So relationship between any two objects, like this table and almirah, they have a sambandha. What is the sambandha? They are both made of wood. Right? So this is sambandha. So some objects will have this sambandha, and some will not have. Another kind of sambandha is how can two objects produce any kind of effect when coming together, right? So two different chemicals can produce like if you mix sodium and chlorine, it will form sodium chloride salt, but it will give there will be a huge it is an exothermic reaction. Heat निकलती है उसमें, गर्मी निकलती है. So all different kinds of chemical reactions are there that sambandha will prove something. So they have some kind of relationship that is dependent upon the mutual properties they share that brings in forces that are of attractive in nature or repulsive in nature when these two objects come together. So that is sambandha. And then jati. So jati is any common features of a few objects, you can classify them under a certain category. So if there are different minerals of different sizes and shapes and different colors, you can still classify them under rocks. ये सब एक ही जाति के हैं, ये सब पत्थर ही है. But they might be even a diamond is a stone, वो भी पत्थर है, and a normal piece of mud on the road is also stone. But look at the difference in the value of the two. So in jati, you can categorize them, yet the objects will have retain their original identity. And then finally, Rudi. Rudi is something that is what we call a commonly known feature of an object. So like the sun is a source of heat. So we know that is known to us. Or differently, I say sun is that round ball of sky, round ball of fire that we see in the sky. So that is coming down through generations. Someone has named some object as the sun. We all know that this is the sun. That is Rudy. That is Rudy, where we accept a common knowledge about an object, right? So all objects will come under these five, right? So now, what I have shown you about the diamond and the stone is that though they are both some one kind of stone only, yet they are so different. So using jati to equate all the other categories is what we call the jati prayog or the jati fallacy. This is also a stone, this is also a stone, but they are then that means they should both be of same value. You cannot say that. That is called jati prayog. So using jati to equate all the remaining four, like guna, kriya, sambandh, rudi. If you are using jati to equate all of them, then that is called jati prayog. And there is a technical word for that, that is called sadhyasam. We shall look here. Sadhyasam, or inability to prove the hypothesis on the basis of category. So jati can only happen when one side has given an argument and then the other is using uh, an argument to refute it using opposite attributes. A jati is not the first argument always, remember that. Jati will always be the second argument of the series, right? The first argument is given by someone, other is using uh, common properties to give an opposite, different conclusion, and that is called jati. Is it clear so far, or is it very confusing? I am trying to make the best of it. Is it okay so far?
So could you just give an example of how a jati, the Vadi and the Prativadi, how they would argue?
Yeah, you will get so many examples, you get tired of them later on. So I'm not giving them right now because we will consider the examples according to the different categories. Every category has a different example. Of course, a lot of similar examples are also there. So I will come to that. So right for now, just hold it in your mind that there is an argument being going between two people, and we will see that in the first sutra itself. We will come to that. Just for now, hold on to the fact that jati will be used to prove something opposite. So jati can happen only one side has given the argument, other will refute. So if one if one is proving something using common qualities, other is refuting using opposite qualities also. So that is another way also. So like you can use what we call similarity, you can use dissimilarity also to destroy the argument. So now these two stages represent jati. Then the third stage is there where you say that you say to the opponent, you are using a jati argument. This is not sufficient to destroy the argument. The first argument that was given, you have given a jati argument. The third stage will say, no, you are using jati or you are using this kind of jati, right? So that we'll have to say. So that we look step by step. So now, of the other fallacies that we have seen, uh, we always see in a debate that usually what is the process of debate? When we read the debates of any particular school of thought, कोई भी एक वेदांत, अद्वैत, द्वैत, and न्याय, सांख्य, all of them are giving their propositions, giving their arguments. Right? So they will establish that theirs is right by giving their argument. Then they will give the opposite argument to show how it could have been refuted, and then they will prove through another argument that no, our original argument was right. That is called the process of debate of the schools of thought, where we call the first part the Siddhant. First part is the first person is called the Siddhanti. So Siddhanti is right. The second will come the Purva Paksha, who will try to refute him. So Purva Paksha is the misleader, right? Purva Paksha is in the misleader. And then again, the Siddhanti will finally prove his theory. Is this okay, Siddhanti and Purva Pakshi? Because you will encounter this in lots of spiritual debates and a lot of places where any debate is being done. So even if we study some other texts, like if we study any of the Upanishads, then Shankaracharya Bhagwan will give one argument. Then he will constantly use the status of Purva Paksha to show the opposition argument. But we have seen this in Nyaya also. Okay, in Nyaya also we have seen anything that is being said, then some opposing argument is given, and then the opposing argument is also refuted. So it is always proved. Yes, Anita.
So are these just different names for saying Vadi and Prativadi?
Yeah. So what I'm coming to is the difference between Siddhanti and Purva Pakshi. Siddhanti is the one who's the right person in the argument. Purva Paksha is the one who is trying to mislead. But in Vadi and Prativadi, or Vadi and Jativadi, what we will say, no one is, you cannot say the first one is right. Okay. So we will see a lot of examples where the first one is saying something that is wrong. Sometimes both are saying something that is wrong. So here we don't have to see right or wrong. Wherever right or wrong, whatever is right, I can point it out to you. But the process of debate involves in this Jati Nigristan involves two people debating, where who is right will establish much later at the end. But right now, the first stage involves one is giving a debate, giving a logic, other is using some naughty logic to discredit him, something that is not acceptable, right? So actually in spiritual discussions, or any discussions, not just spiritual, any kind of discussion, using any kind of what we call devious methods is not considered good, right? So wherever a devious method is used, what is the way we stop that? The way of stopping is pointing it out to the person, this is the devious method that you're using, right? So in Jati it is sufficient to prove that one argument is given, second is trying to prove wrong, third we will say you are using this Jati, so your argument is will not be accepted. Go and find something better, right? So that is the process. So now we come to the first one. So these are all enumerated here. I will not give the explanation here because this will come later on. Because here you can just read the translation of yourself also. So sadharmya. Remember one word at the end. Can Anita, can you read Hindi, Sanskrit?
Sanskrit, I can read a bit, sir.
Okay. So then last word, what is the last word of the sutra?
Karya Samaha.
Karya samaha, right? So samaha represents, means something similar to. A similar argument is being given, that is that is being used to prove the opposite. So samaha you will attach with every word. So the logical fallacy, sadharmya is not the logical fallacy. Sadharmya sama is the logical fallacy. You are using sadharmya or common properties to prove something. You are using vedharmya or opposing properties to prove something. So sadharmya sama represents the logical fallacy where sadharmya is being used to refute the proponent, the first person. So sadharmya sama is the first logical fallacy. So here the word is used is called balancing. So someone using homogeneity or sadharmya. Sadharmya is homogeneity or using similar properties. Okay. So balancing that is using, you are giving an argument which is refuting the Sadharmya theorem. So that will be used here. So Sadharmya, common properties, Vaidharmya. So Vaidharmya Sama will be fallacy involving opposing properties. Then Utkarsha, balancing and addition. Addition basically means some object is being enumerated with another, let's say a few properties. In Utkarsha, you will add some properties and assume that they will also be in the other object. Then balancing a subtraction, comparing two objects having similar properties, but one of the objects has less property, so you attribute that less to the other object also. Then balancing the questionable, what we call Varnya, or more appropriately, Varnya is describing something. So whenever you are describing something, that description can be you can confuse someone that your description is not appropriate. Then varnya applies basically to what we call sansarik objects, worldly objects. Worldly objects you can describe, right? In that description, there might be a flaw. So that is using that jati prayog there. So avarnya represents those categories which are beyond the grasp of common perception. So that will be avarnya will be uh, avarnya will apply to like atma or akashah or sound. Even Vayu, because Vayu is not seen, so that you can say sort of, but mostly to the first three. So there. So then avarnya, balancing the questionable, balancing the unquestionable. Then vikalpa. Vikalpa is a choice. It's on a sankalpa, vikalpa, atmaka, manaha. So balancing the alternative. Then sadhya, balancing the reciprocity, the something having reciprocal properties. Then praptya, sadhya, praptya, apraptya. So balancing the reciprocity, balancing the co-presence, balancing the mutual absence, apraptya, aprapti. Then prasanga. Prasanga is if a discussion is about a certain what we call prasang in Hindi means a situation. So if a discussion is about a certain situation, then disputing the situation. No, that this discussion is not about that situation. It is about some other situation. Then that is called balancing the balancing the mutual absence, balancing the infinite regression. Then prapti prasang prati drishtant. Okay, prati drishtant. Then prati drishtant is balancing the counter example. Prati drishtant, balancing the counter example. So there is a drishtant that is being used to explain something. Then you give a counter example that will prove something reverse. So that is prati drishtant. Then anutpatti, non-produce, something that is not being produced, using that in the argument. Then sanshaya, if there is a doubt regarding some certain things. Sanshaya, prakaran, doubt. Then prakaran, balancing the controversy. Hetvartha, balancing the non-reason. Arthapatti, Vishesh Upapatti, balancing the non-difference, then balancing the Labdhya, balancing the demonstration, Uplabdhi, balancing the perception, then Anuplabdhi, balancing the non-perception, then Nitya, balancing the Nitya is eternal, so balancing the eternality, and then Anitya, that is the balancing the non-eternal, balancing the non-eternality and eternality. So here you have to reverse it, because if you look carefully, can you see the portion where Nitya is in the second line? Can you see? Before Karesama, Nitya, Nitya. Manisha, can you see?
Yes, sir. Nitya, Nitya, Karya Sama.
So Nitya, Nitya. So Nitya is first because there is an E ki matra before in Uplabdhi. So you cannot put an A before. So that is why Nitya will come first, Anitya will come second. So balancing, Nitya is balancing the eternality. And then Anitya is balancing the non-eternality. So the serial number is a bit wrong here. 22 and 23 are different. Then Karya. Karya is the effect. So whenever there is a what we call Karan and Karya, cause and effect. So when we are talking about the effect of an effect of something, then we are looking at that. Okay. So now we will enter the first. I will try and do at least this one. Of course, this is also a bit long because this is the first example and it has 4 different categories. In fact. So sadharmya, vedharmabhyam, उपसंहारे तत् धर्म विपर्यय उपपत्तेः sadharmya, vaidharmya, samau. So sama is again the same balancing, or you can say the sadharmya sama, vaidharmya sama, you can apply everywhere there. So this represents the different logical fallacies. So we are taking here two categories here first, sadharmya and vaidharmya. So sadharmya is basically what? So we have seen up till here, uh, sadharmya, two objects having common properties, right? And then, so basically, what this sutra is saying is, opponent is using the technique of comparing objects, using objects with similar qualities, objects with similar qualities, that is called sadharmya, to prove his point. And then vaidharmya is using opposite qualities to prove his point. Upsamhare. So when we reach a conclusion regarding that, tat dharma viparya, so that pointing out that flaw or that property in that object, upapate, sadharma, vaidharma, samo. That is the category. That is the logical fallacy relating to sadharma or vaidharma. So explaining this a little bit more. Uh, Opponent will say the jati, the first, the vadi, the one who is giving the first argument, will prove something using sadharmya or common properties, or he will prove something using vaidharmya or opposing properties. Then the opponent will come in here and he will try to reverse the argument using sadharmya, vaidharmya, of the first person. So this will actually, it looks like two categories of argument, or two categories of fallacies, but in a way it is four. I will explain with examples as we go down. So sadharmya is, you are using common properties to prove something. The other can use sadharmya to prove you are wrong, using the system of common properties. He can also use vaidharmya to prove you wrong. Right? So you are giving a sadharmya example, the opponent is giving sadharmya and vaidharmya both to prove you wrong. Two ways he can prove you wrong. And then there is vaidharmya. You are giving a vaidharmya example, and your opponent is using sadharmya or vaidharmya to prove you wrong. So these are the four. So now, as I said again, we will enter the first example, but bear in mind, you leave out who is right or wrong. सही गलत नहीं देखना है. The right person can also use jati to protect his proposition. Like I said, protecting delicate plants with thorns. So it basically is, point is to catch the wrong one. So it involves using the same logic to prove the opposite. So nothing will be proved. The second person is not proving anything. Argument of the opponent won't be accepted. So let us take up the example now for us to develop a basic understanding. Let us take the example of Atma. So it is infinite. We have studied in Nyaya from the beginning also. We have seen it in Tattva Bodha also, and it is there in all the texts. Atma is accepted as infinite. So applying worldly logic to it won't work. And that is the fallacy. So we can apply logic to prove some aspect of Atma. We cannot use the same to prove the opposite. So let us come to the first example, sadharmya. So what is we'll follow the same fivefold process. Pratigya, hetu, vyapti, drishtant, and nigman. So you just focus on the pratigya. So what is the pratigya? The first one he will use for sadharmya. Sadharmya, I'm using common properties, right? Common properties is okay with you? So तो फर्स्ट प्रतिज्ञा इज, आत्मा हैज क्रिया और एक्शन. आत्मा में क्रिया है, आत्मा में एक्शन है, आत्मा हैज एक्शन. Okay, so don't go into right and wrong. Atma does not have kriya. But okay, we will go to the first argument. So here, this is the Vadi. This is the Vadi. The Vadi is saying by Sadharmya, Atma has kriya or action. So what is the Sadharmya here? It is not here. It will come in the Hetu. So what is the hetu here? The cause he will giving. He will give the cause that Atma has kriya or action. That is because Atma is a dravya or substance. Atma is a dravya or substance. So Atma is, in a way, of course, in Vedanta we do not accept as a substance. It is the substratum of all substances. But in a strict sense, it even Vedanta also, we will say one more thing. Atma is the only substance. There is no other, all else are projections from Atma. The only real dravya or substance is that. So when we are using the term dravya to indicate the objects of the world, the different objects, all the five elements are the five dravyams. In Vaisheshik, we enumerate another four dravyams, which is Atma, Man, Dik, and Kal. So if you can note this down, you will read this umpteen times in Vedanta arguments. They say Nyaya says that, but Nyaya says it nowhere. It is said in Vaisheshik. So in Vaisheshik, what are the nine dravyams? The nine dravyams are the five elements: Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi, and then Dik, Kal, Man, Atma. Dik, direction; Dik, Kal, time; Mana, mind; Atma. So now, just to go back to the example, sadhya or the pratigya. Pratigya, remember, one more word will keep coming. So please keep that in your mind. Sadhya, the thing to be proved. That is also pratigya. So sadhya word is also used a lot of places. So sadhya is Atma has kriya or action. Hetu, because Atma is a dravya or substance. A substance can have motion when something else imparts an impetus to it, right? So that is the hetu being given. So what is the, we give the drishtant here because we are giving the drishtant or example of a stone. So a stone, when it is imparted an impetus, it moves because it has the property of conjunction. So that is the drishtant. So when a stone is given an impetus, it will move. It has the property of conjunction. Stone is a dravyam. So that is why Atma is also a dravyam. So Atma has also the property of motion. So what is the vyapti here or the upnaya here? Vyapti is something that we use the common point to establish the argument. So I will describe a little bit of more this in the once we let us finish this example. So vyapti is upnaya is whatever is the relationship here. Whatever has conjunction can move. Whatever has a conjunction. So Atma always has a conjunction with all the bodies and so on. Here we are saying whatever has conjunction can move. So what is the nigaman or conclusion? That the conclusion is that the Atma, because it has the properties of conjunction, it can move like a stone which is when imparted like a stone which when imparted an impetus moves because it has the property of conjunction. So if you want to keep your view on the true logic, what is that? Atma can make everything move, but nothing can make Atma move. Why? Because it is itself the source of everything. So the conjunction will not apply to that. Atma's conjunction is not like the Atma is actually doing something. It is in its presence that everything is happening. So now back to the argument, we'll just sum this up quickly. So the opponent is saying the sadhya, pratigya, Atma has kriya or action. Then hetu, that is because Atma is a dravya or substance. So a substance can have motion when something else imparts an impetus to it. Then drishtant, just like a stone or a clod of earth, which it has the properties of conjunction, it is also a dravyam. And so when something imparts an impetus to it, it moves because it has the property of conjunction or coming together of two things. So the vyapti or upnaya is whatever has conjunction can move. And so the conclusion is therefore Atma has motion. Is it clear so far or is it a bit confusing?
Yes,
Is the argument is clear? Okay, so argument simply Atma has kriya that we are proving through similar properties. Atma is also a dravyam. Then the clod of earth or a stone, whatever you call it, is also a dravyam. So stone has the property of motion. So Atma is also the property of motion. Right? So this is the first one. So this is sadharmya. Sadharmya because we are using the common property of both being dravyams. So now now first one we are refuting sadharmya by sadharmya. So how will we do it? This is refuted by the argument. Atma doesn't have action. he will say, the opponent, because it has no finite location. It is all pervasive. So movement is not possible within it. So just like space is a dravya and all pervasive and has no action. Akash, it doesn't have any motion, right? Akash doesn't have any motion. It is because it is all pervasive. In a limited sense, of course, Akasha is all pervasive for this universe. So Akash also doesn't have any action. So now what is the argument of the Jativadi? He will use Akash. What will he say? He says, we can take the, if you are comparing Atma with the clod or stone, let me compare Atma with Akash. Both are dravyams, right? You can take both of them as dravyam. So let us do the comparison with Akash. So if we are using now, we are using Sadharmya, remember, huh? Sadharmya to disprove the Sadharmya. So he will say Akash is also dravya. It is all pervasive. Vibhu. It is all pervasive. That means it does not have any motion. Whatever is vibhu or all pervasive, it cannot have any motion. Why? Because it is everywhere. Where will it go? If something has a location in space here, then it can go to another location in space here. When the object we are talking about is space itself, then there cannot be any motion. So Atma is without Kriya. So here, see, interestingly, the Jativadi is actually saying the right thing. Okay. But then the technique is wrong. So now he has not proved his point. He has just refuted the opponent. So now both cannot prove their point, but using Sadharma Sam, the Vadi is not allowed to establish his point. So here what is doing, we are right here in using Jati to trick the opponent, right? So this is Jati Prayog of Sadharmya, as the Vadi has been refuted, but the opponent has proved nothing of his own. He has not proved that Atma is without Kriya. He has just proved that the argument that Atma is with Kriya is not sufficient. The sufficientness of it is not being used. Okay. And then using Vedharmya to or opposite qualities to prove, that will come the second part of the argument. So I think we are out of time now. We will continue this in the next class. I will repeat this first argument very quickly for you in the next class, and then we'll take it from there. So I think the example was clear to you, Manisha, Anita.
Yes, sir. This is
Yes.
so
Yes.
intelligent.
Yeah.
I mean, we were not, had we
Mhm.
been using such kind of logic, we wouldn't
Mhm.
be talking so many unnecessary things today. This is so logical.
Yeah. So this is the way of Shastra. No? Everything is presented in a systematic way, so that wherever we are getting tricked or wherever we are led down the wrong path, this will come no, in the next sutra, the third one and the fifth one. In third and fifth together, they will prove that why this kind of argument cannot be used to go into the wrong direction, right? So that we will look up. So this with this way we are proving Sadharmya. And interestingly, we have seen in the first example itself that the Jativadi actually is giving the right argument, right? But we will say, even if you are doing the right thing, it is actually not correct, but it is allowed to you to, just because you don't want the opponent establishing something wrong. That is Atma is with Kriya, because Atma is with Kriya. The first mantra of most of the Upanishads will say the Atma is all pervading and has no action. So you can see that in Ishavasya. Of course, Mundaka will come later. All different Upanishads. So I think we'll wind up for today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, sir.